Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a reading for Aquarius rising, or if you have significant Aquarius placements in your chart and are needing a neutral energy to help balance or harmonize masculine and feminine within yourself, or if you're just feeling drawn to this reading for whatever reason, there may be a message here for you. So Aquarius, let's get started. Just the overall theme of the overall feel of your reading today is kind of feeling like, if you've been listening to the radio and a really sad song comes on, but that's not fitting your mood is kind of how it's feeling. So it's like you just changed the station, right? You just changed the station to a different radio station, and it's like a lot of things kind of line up is kind of how it's feeling. So the overall context of your reading today is this energy. So you have the moon, control, and the hermit, right? So it's kind of like it's talking to me about, okay, so this moon, first of all, the full moon eclipse that we just had might have been very important for you in terms of like learning how to control your own experience is kind of how this is feeling, like controlling your own experience or how you're feeling about a situation. So emotions for sure, because the moon is coming up, but also perhaps there were shadow elements here as well that you are working through with the hermit, but it's like you have so much assistance and guidance in this transition period is kind of how this is feeling. And it could have been tied to like perhaps other people's efforts to control you in some way, whether or not that was intentional or just like a subconscious thing. It's kind of just like there are changes in your life happening, Aquarius, because you're now taking control of your own experience is kind of how that's feeling. So I'm going to leave that there. Let's get into the actual reading part. So first two cards that we have here are the diamond and the purse. So the diamond card says you'll be receiving or giving a precious gift. I feel like it's both for you. And then you have your purse. Pay attention to your finances. So it could be that you'll be receiving a gift in your finances. And it's coming in with this message of pay attention to that, because it's kind of like maybe if you receive something, there may be sort of a natural sort of desire to give back or something like that. But it's kind of like just be aware of who and what you're spending your resources on is kind of the message that's coming in here because of some of the other cards that are coming out in the next part. So it's kind of like maybe you're receiving perhaps a gift of some sort, or just like more resources to use, like your purse is being filled, that kind of thing. And so it's kind of just like with this control card, just be aware of how you're now going to spend those resources when they do come in. That's sort of the energy that's coming through here. You have here the Enterprise card, which I love. And this is Aries. So I feel like you are starting something new is kind of how it's feeling by perhaps leaving behind something else or putting up really strong boundaries between you and a past situation or something like that, because the next card's coming out here. You have here a wall and defense. And the way that this is coming through, it's kind of like, so this defense card, I always see sort of being like a lot of people sort of bringing their problems or energy to you is how I see this, because you have an open hand, right? Because you also have this hand card that's coming out a bit later where it says in need of help, assistance, and guidance. So it kind of seems like there were a group of people. Perhaps this is part of it as well, because it could be something like you're starting something where you will be able to help other people, perhaps, right? Like, or something like that, especially because it's like pay attention to your finances. Make sure you're not giving away too much of your resources, because it's like you have a lot to give, or you will have a lot to give soon. But it's kind of like there's perhaps a group of people who will be coming to you in need of help or assistance, is kind of how it's coming through with this enterprise, which is interesting. This wall card, it says misunderstanding. So this wall card to me is just talking to me about like putting up boundaries, right? Putting up boundaries between you and what you can give and the people who are asking for assistance. Because it's kind of like their energy can become too much, or they can overwhelm, or something like that. It's kind of like there's or perhaps there was just a misunderstanding between you and another person, maybe. But regardless, Aries, it feels Aries, not Aries. Regardless, Aquarius. Perhaps it was an Aries, because there's a lot of Mars energy, and especially because we're in Scorpio season right now. That's also a Mars ruled sign. So there's a lot of. So again, it could be conflict with this, but I don't know. Hopefully the conflict is just a misunderstanding, but I'm not sure about that. I feel like that will be made clear soon, is kind of how it's coming through. So the first couple of tarot cards to clarify this, you had the Knight of Wands that came out in reverse, and then the Six of Swords. This is from the After Tarot though, so, and I found it so interesting with this Enterprise card. There's 6 swords here, right? But it's being split into 2 and 4. So it's kind of like, I feel like you, Aquarius, are moving on to something new, right? It's like you're getting out of this boat that you were in, right? You're changing the station. You're arriving onto dry land, right? And in the meantime, it's like you're leaving behind some sort of stalemate situation. It could be with, like, there was a misunderstanding with someone, or some situation perhaps, and it's like that was putting you in a stalemate. And so it's kind of like you're just moving on, because that energy perhaps is a reverse Knight of Swords, or Knight of Wands, right? Which is coming through with this energy of like, wasn't long term. It wasn't, it was kind of like an in and out, a hot and cold kind of energy. And it's kind of like, this was almost like something that was perhaps a distraction, or just something temporary, a temporary challenge perhaps, that you are now moving past, is what this is feeling like. And then you have here the Six of Swords, which always talks about like moving into calmer waters, calmer thoughts as well. And especially this eclipse energy was very useful, I think, in terms of releasing things that are no longer serving you. That's what this card is talking to me about today. And with the Ace of Swords, it's like you have some sort of new understanding, is kind of how this is feeling. So it's kind of like whatever it is you're moving into, it's feeling. So you have this hat card. You'll be playing a different role, which is interesting. It's really interesting, because I was thinking about this card and just like the idea of like a role that you play a lot this past weekend, because of there's a significant actor who passed this weekend, right? Rest in peace. But there was kind of like this, the memorial kind of energy that was sort of, that I was seeing a lot of anyway, was always in mention to a specific role that actor played, right? That's sort of what he became known for. So it could be something like that, where you're like leaving behind something or moving past something about like a specific role that you've been playing, that perhaps like in your relationships, or just, I don't know, it could be just like a work thing or something like that, that perhaps a lot of people around you know you for, but is not really who you are, if that makes sense. Because there was one thing that I saw in sort of like the memorial news, let's call it, where it was like one thing that this actor wanted to be remembered for was not this role that he played. That wasn't actually him, but he wanted to be remembered for the assistance and help that he gave to other people who were struggling. So it's kind of something like, I feel like whatever it is that you're moving into, Aquarius, it's something that like you're perhaps is more attuned to something that you care about, right? It's like perhaps whatever it is that you were doing before this, like whatever this reverse Knight of Wands energy was, it's kind of like something like you were in a particular role that perhaps was just one version of you, because it's kind of like with this hat thing, if you put on a hat, you're still yourself, right? Like it doesn't change your entire identity. It's just one aspect of yourself. So it could be something like that. So you're just switching hats is what this is feeling like. And then you also have here this romance card. So I feel like this is also something that you may be moving into, right? It's like you just changed the station to something new, and it's like you're listening to a different song. That's what this is coming through with, which is really lovely. It's beautiful. Whether or not it has anything to do with this sort of, it doesn't have to be a relationship is what I'm trying to say. It's more so like, it's bringing in like Venus energy, where it's kind of like, it's much more happy and uplifting and like, a really beautiful form of expression is what's coming through with this. And I feel like it's going to bring you a lot of pleasure and joy is what this is feeling like. So, you also have this energy, which is interesting. So I feel like, so this is coming out here with the misunderstanding, where you had the Fool in reverse and the Ten of Swords in reverse. These two purposely came out in reverse, and I normally don't take reversals, but this is what's coming through, where it's kind of like a start that wasn't a start, right? Like it was supposed to be a fresh start or a new start or a new beginning, but it was not. It was actually the Ten of Swords. So that could have been the misunderstanding. Maybe there was a misunderstanding in terms of like something that you hoped would be something more long-term, but it wasn't. And it actually perhaps ended up in this Ten of Swords energy where you're kind of like putting it to rest, right? It's like it's done, you're burying it, it's over, moving on, that kind of thing. So sorry, Aquarius. Anyways, the next one to come through, the next couple of cards to come through. So the hat, right? And I feel like there's perhaps this energy here where it's kind of like you may be, because you have this Enterprise card coming, sorry, not Enterprise, it's excitement. I feel like there's a lot of excitement about this new Enterprise, because this one always it kind of talks to me about like a herald or like signs of better things to come is kind of how this card comes through with. So a sign of better things to come. And it's kind of like here, the way that the cards are looking on the table, it's like, I feel like maybe you may be returning to something from before, right? It's kind of feeling like, because the way that the cards are coming out doesn't really matter, but it's kind of like it's going backwards, or it's like, not going backwards. That's not the right way to say it. It's, getting back on track is what it was. Getting back on track. Because I feel like maybe there was something here that happened where it was like maybe you were drawn in by something that had a Knight of Wands kind of energy, right? Like really perhaps attractive, or like it was, but it was like a hot or cold energy. It wasn't going to ever commit to you is kind of how this is feeling. But perhaps they made it seem that way. That might have been the misunderstanding, but it's kind of like the universe is getting you back on track is what this is feeling like. With a lot of excitement. It's kind of like you're you're getting out of a situation here with this escape card, right? It's like your guides, the universe, perhaps you're seeing signs that are like leading you out of this energy, the criticism, where it's like people perhaps were pointing fingers at you or criticizing what it was that you were doing or whatever it is. And it's like the universe is getting you back on track out of this situation. It's kind of like the one example of this story that was coming through was kind of like, there's this fairy tale. It's apparent, I just Googled it quickly before this reading, but it's a Norwegian fairy tale, The Three Billy Goats Gruff, if you're familiar with it. I won't go through it. You can Google that yourself if that's resonating with you. But it's kind of like there was perhaps a situation where somebody was perhaps like pointing fingers at you or perhaps trolling you in some way, right? There was like a trolling energy here, because it is coming through with this energy, the beware of greed, which is interesting, because that's what I'm seeing is this. It's like, for whatever reason, they had their eye on you, perhaps had an eye on your resources or what it is that you have to give, but with a greedy kind of energy. Because the cards that are coming out to describe that card, especially with the greed, is the Four of Pentacles, right? Very traditionally, the Four of Pentacles talks about greed, of holding on to your resources. I feel like it's kind of something like, because they didn't have a lot of what you have, they perhaps even asked for assistance, right? Like, because this hand card actually came out to explain the greed energy, where it's kind of like they perhaps asked you for assistance because you have a lot to give, is what this is talking about. But it's almost like with this sort of like this ending, the Ten of Swords, it's kind of like perhaps the universe was protecting you from an energy that would have tried to take too much from you with the greed card. And it's kind of like, because of this is the after tarot. So this deck talks about like what happens after the traditional tarot imagery, right? So it's kind of like, if there is something that is too stubborn and does not want to change comes anyway, is what's coming through with this. And you also have the bell here that says announcement. It's kind of like there's almost like the bell tolls for everybody, is kind of what's coming through here. You cannot avoid change. And I feel like so whatever this energy is, because it feels kind of like that's what you're leaving behind, or it's almost like the universe is forcing you to put that down, right? The universe, some external energy that is above this whole situation is coming in to bring in change with this sort of bell, is what this is talking about. So, anyways, for you, Aquarius, let's get back on track. Let's get back on track for you, because you have here the Lovers card, right? And then it's coming through with the Three of Swords, right? But again, with the After Tarot, which is talking about like you're in the process of healing, perhaps whatever this, because it could be that you're making the choice to step away, right? It's like you're turning the dial, you're switching radio stations to something else. That is a choice that you've made in order to heal this Three of Swords energy, right? The swords have been removed, is kind of how this is feeling. And now it's kind of like just like a repair, getting back on track, but you have so much to be excited about up ahead for you, right? It's like because this situation is now over, it's like you're going to be receiving something even better, is what's coming through with that. And what you have here next is the Emperor, which I feel like is talking about this sort of like this aspect of control, because, so again, Scorpio, no, that's not a Scorpio. This is a Capricorn card. But again, it's coming through with more Mars energy, right? So whatever it is that you have just gone through, because Mars talks about, it could talk about conflict. So this situation could have unfolded through conflict of some sort, but also it talks about like your forward momentum and your drive, your passion, all of that, right? With the Mars card. It could be something like, now that this situation is over, it's like the Mars energy, this passionate energy is driving your chariot forward now. Because it's kind of like the thing that was occupying your attention perhaps is now, because compared to the Knight of Wands, this Knight of Wands in reverse especially talks about sort of like being really flighty, right? Like there's no commitment, there's no long-term stability here with the Emperor. It's kind of just like an in and out, hot and cold kind of dynamic is what this past situation is kind of feeling like. Like they want you 1 minute, the next minute they're cold, or perhaps even like rude or something like that. And it's kind of like so I feel like through this situation, Aquarius, you've achieved some sort of control over yourself and your experience, right? It's really emphasizing like you are the one who controls your own experience. So if there's something in your experience that's not it, it's like you can choose to change the station. Absolutely. And I feel like that's sort of like this really positive outcome of this experience is that like you're realizing how much control you actually have over yourself is kind of how this is feeling. Anyways, and then we have here the Two of Wands and the Temperance card, which is really lovely because it's kind of like whatever this, by making this choice, right? Because you have here the guardian angel here, you have like, by making this choice, it's kind of like you're releasing something, right? Which is always an energy of full moons. I think full moons are really great for releasing anything that's no longer serving you. And also there's a lot of peace that comes from that, because it's kind of like, especially if you've been feeling any sort of stress within your body as well, because that's also a Mars energy, right? It's related to like your body, your vessel. So if you've been feeling any sort of tension or stress or perhaps like, I don't want to say necessarily that it's hurt, but it's kind of just like a misalignment within your body, right? That like something within your body wasn't working properly or whatever. And it's like, as soon as you release this thing that was causing you stress, it's like everything starts functioning properly again. It could be something like that. So just pay attention to that, especially if you've been like, if you're feeling tension anywhere in your body, it's like there's something that you need to release. And once you release that situation or the person or whatever, the job, this role that you were playing perhaps within your relationships, it's like once you release that cause of stress or that tension, it's like everything starts working again, is kind of how this is feeling for me, Aquarius. And then you have here the Two of Wands, which I love because it's kind of like, this is the back on track energy, where it's kind of like, I feel like there may even be somebody else that's coming in where it's like you're making plans to move forward in this relationship instead of something that was like not it, right? Like something that was like a Knight of Wands. It's like you are perhaps with this Emperor, or just again, because this is a rising sign, it's like you in harmony with your masculine energies and your feminine energies together is moving forward in some sort of new plan, right? And Temperance, I always see as being able to control any sort of heated energy, right? So that could be passion, it could be anger, it could be restlessness of some sort. Because Temperance to me is a a balance of fire and water. So if you've been feeling fiery, especially with all the Scorpio energy and the Aries energy and the Mars energy that's present in your reading, it's like because you've mastered or were able to control some sort of heated, fiery energy, it's kind of like you're back on track. You're releasing any sort of stagnant energies and you're moving forward. So Aquarius, I'm going to leave it there. If you're interested in a personal reading, you can check out the description box. My website is there. If this reading resonated with you, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. It really helps so much. Thank you for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.